Okay, welcome to Cyberballs, everyone. The big news story today is the absolute excitement over Tesla's full self-driving version 12.5. The early users who are testing it are going bananas, with some even going as far as saying it is solved. But what is even more important than just Elon is at least 3 of Tesla's autopilot team, including Ashok Alaswamy, has been hyping the version, saying how really proud they are. So we've got the Bulls here with us today. Let's introduce each other. I'm Herbert.
You're the queen. That's what you're supposed to say.
Definitely a queen.
Turn it around, Herbert. Pull us up. Come on, do it. You can do it.
What do you mean? How do I do this?
On the big screen, on the big screen.
Okay, let's start.
Well, don't cut this. They're going to have a good laugh. They will understand very quickly what's happening here. So I'm Alexandra, I'm Tesla Boomer Mama, and I'm not the queen. Don't believe what Herbert's saying.
I'm Matt Smith, or Matt Chasm Matt, as you don't know me as, from Rebellionaire.
I'm Jeff Lutz, the Jeff Lutz on X.
I'm Xander Sky, the options monkey throwing dart person.
All right, this is terrible. You guys should not introduce yourself. All right, let's get started with 12.5. We've seen a lot of new information about this. It just came recently. We got information from Elon, of course. I'll start with that. He said this, still some issues with this release, but you can see the magic already. We're pushing it out only to those who've requested advanced releases. For regular users, 12.5.3 is probably suitable for wide release. And then you got, he's also saying that actual Smart Summon is separate code, but it'll be bundled with 12.5.x next month, so it's coming. And then he did confirm, and we talk about this later, we have yet to unlock the full potential of hardware 4 that may enable up to further 8 times increase in parameters. We're already at 3 times. But the big deal is 12.5 started to be released to users. Jeff, you're one of the users that have tested it out, and I'm shocked that you are actually saying that this is really, really good. Like, it's a big difference. Tell us what you saw.
Yeah, buckle up. I've been through this before and with product in my career too, especially when you're developing something new. Again, nothing I would say on this scale. This is amazing work by the Tesla team, but sometimes you come under this iterative bias of like, okay, I started at this thing, a couple of years ago when it was, hardly wasn't good at all. And then every release seems to get better and you kind of get excited. But I've been pretty objective about it. And I've pointed out what's working well and things that haven't worked well and even up through version 12. And I've been even critical of FSD in the past as well, in terms of, kind of its lumpiness. But if you kind of just clean the slate, I received, 12.5. I have a hardware 4 Model X. I received it, about at midnight and took it on some drives today. And it's pretty rare for me to get even one drive where I don't feel like I need to hit the accelerator or brake early or help it with a turn. But I've had 3 drives in a row now that were absolutely perfect. I literally put in the destination, pressed the button, and it did the rest. It navigated some pretty difficult spots and parking lots too, and got me out. It drove me to locations where it would normally just stop in some random location and said it, attempted to park the vehicle. And this is something special. I've never had 3 drives in a row that were perfect. And I know some of the other people who do a lot more testing, especially in the Bay Area, West Coast. And I'm sure the planning and work that's done, as Elon drives in whatever areas he's driving in, I'm sure there's a lot of work that's done on those routes. But I don't think FSD is architected that way. I think it's architected in a way where as they add these parameters and they build on these models, it's going to work everywhere. And my testing to me was a testament to that. I'm just in the Midwest. Love that, Herbert. Thanks. Why don't you just paste it over my forehead?
Sorry.
And thanks. Anything else you want to do? Why don't you start up? Why don't you blow a horn in the background?
Today. He is unhinged, I tell you.
Out of control.
There, I found
anyway,
it. Sorry.
Just 12.5 is 12.5 is in a different league. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, I've heard this before. It's BS. I try to be objective about it. And again, I understand implicit bias and so forth, but I've never had 3 drives in a row in the Midwest where It's literally been perfect. And then there's the details of how it navigates around things, how it accelerates from a stop, how it does turns, how it notices it's short, it's kind of close to a curb, and it kind of moves out of the way. There's a lot of how it navigates and negotiates a yellow light. Before it was kind of herky-jerky. I've seen it slam on the brakes. Now it just kind of smoothly goes. It drives like a professional. It drives better than a normal person. It drives like somebody who's a professional driver, whose job is to make sure like you're not spilling drinks, you're not stopping abruptly, you're not accelerating abruptly. It went from driving like, a 16-year-old to, just like, again, like a professional driver. Very impressed.
The company and the product. I don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. They enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
It's just worth reminding people how big this upside opportunity is.
Okay, that is fantastic. This is the first time that Jeff Lutz, okay, Mr. Incredible, Mr. Conservative. Oh my God, you're going a little crazy here. This is very good news that you said this. I'm going to put Matt Smith on the spot shortly, but before I do that, I'm going to share with you guys what Ashok Alaswamy has been saying. This is the director of Autopilot himself. He rarely tweets. And then if you look at his feed now, he is just out there retweeting, and he's so proud of what they've built here. He said this several days ago. If you liked version 12.4, you're going to love 12.5. Then he said this, there was a huge focus on improving both safety and smoothness in this release. One of my personal tests is to not spill an open cup of coffee while on FSD 12.5. FSD 12.5 was the first version where I was able to do that for 30-minute long drives. What a great target. He also said that as version 12.5 is rolling out wider, feeling thankful to the very talented Tesla AI team. The energy in the team is great right now. Can't wait to get to work every morning. And then we'll see the team themselves coming out, and I'll share that. But okay, Matt, here's Brad Ferguson. This is your co-worker at Rebellionaire. He's calling it is done. Okay, he took out Tesla with his a friend of his. He drove at 12.5 last night, and he said it's done. Take a look at the top here. Ashok Alaswamy reposted that. Okay, you better defend yourself, Matt. Your co-worker saying it's done.
Yeah, so I mean, done in, obviously it's not like they're not going to keep working on it. So it's, some of it maybe is a little bit of a, I don't know, exaggeration, but I think what Bradford's getting at is exactly what Jeff was just pointing out, and exactly what people like Juliana from Tahoe, I forget her handle, saying it's perfect. Like, we've all seen people saying like, oh, FSD is mind blowing. It's like, you guys just can't wait to get it. And then like, you get it. And a lot, like Jeff said, you get it yourself and it's like, okay. So I don't have it yet. I'm still on hardware 3, so I can't testify firsthand on this, but I'm seeing so many people like Jeff, like Bradford, like Juliana, who criticized Tesla in the past, or FSD release, or even if it's criticizing, just being realistic about its limitations. And so many of them are saying it's doing it better than I can. If that's not the threshold for essentially like saying that we've arrived and like robotaxis are legitimately just around the corner, then I don't know what it is. What is? Because I think when you get to the point where essentially you're like passing these soft tests of anecdotal experience. Anecdotally, these people are all saying this is a better driver than I am. The overall experience is better. So now all we need is the data, I think, to kind of back up those claims and say, okay, yeah, it's only an intervention or a safety critical intervention every whatever 25,000 miles, and it becomes 100,000 miles. So I think we're finally over that hump where people are recognizing that it's passing their own capabilities, and that's a really exciting development. And that's why I think this is such a big milestone. And just anecdotally, one thing I want to share, I was reading Ashok's tweet about the coffee, and I was like, oh, that's a really interesting test. Meanwhile, I got in my drive on 12.3.6 with my handy Cyber Owl mug, and immediately it like ran into a pothole and this thing sloshed water on my lap. And I was like, oh, that's a good test. And it's kind of funny that I had just read that tweet right then. So I'm very excited to try it out myself, but a lot of people who I think are reasonable at giving fair and balanced takes are saying that it's either perfect or better than them.
And I would preface I would say I'm usually someone who likes to gather gobs of data. So I'm on day one. And I think people should test it more often, but Matt's correct. There is an A/B test you can do. Like I said, I've never had 3 drives in a row that were perfect. Not only not needing a safety intervention, but no intervention at all, like not touching anything. And then the no nag thing, I never got 12.4.3, so I never experienced no nag. It's really done well. It's really calibrated well, so it's not overbearing. But it knows if you're looking down a text, it knows and says, hey, you got to look up and it lets you know. So it's really architected, tested, and tuned very well. Finally, I had an experience today that just, wow, it just feels like I am in a robot that has a brain that's thinking. Forget about the thousands of moves this thing did to drive perfectly, but I was approaching a stoplight, and there was a shopping center with an exit where cars would exit and try to get onto the main road, and my car stopped ahead of that exit and allowed somebody that was there to creep out. And they weren't even out. Their car wasn't even moving. It stopped. It knew it shouldn't stop in front of an exit of a shopping center, and it knew it should allow some room for someone to come in, and it did. And the person waved, and then the car, and everything. It was just, again, very smooth. It just, again, when I step back, like that just, to me, like there's a real like brain, like there's like something was actually thinking. There was reason. There was logic to it. It was kind of a striking experience. It's almost like one of those things where you had to be there. But I invite every analyst. I know Elon said, hey, there's some things they probably want to polish up. I'm sure there are. This is the first release. By the way, I'm a little surprised with that too. Like this is 12.5. 0. And it is really, really good. But I would invite any Wall Street analyst, anybody who's in a regulator position, anybody who has any kind of connection to this. If you're studying the company or you're studying, full self-driving, or you're involved in that chain somehow, you need to go to a Tesla service center. You need to get a test drive on a vehicle that's equipped with this, and you really need to see the experience. It's truly like, it's just one of those things where you've just never experienced it before.
Okay. Alexandra, I got 2 questions for you. First is, why is Matt Smith drinking from a Cyber Owl, container? Should be a Cyber Bulls container. And 2, Jeff just said it's ready. He wants everybody to experience it, analysts as well. Do you think it's time that everybody goes and tries it now at this stage?
Yes, I mean, for Matt's Tumblr, I think that's what it's called, this thing.
Yeah.
This is a disappointment. I mean, Matt has been special to me for years. And then with one Tumblr, what's this all about? Matt, the whole thing, you better explain, but this is what. Then I'm still under the shock. Then to Jeff. Excellent point to make people try this. And you're completely right. It should be tried on a very large scale by analysts who have an opinion on Tesla. Pierre Ferragut, I'm looking at you. Je te regarde. And then also, because he has a Tesla. So, I mean, when he was saying yesterday there is nothing much coming for the next 12 months, I just can't believe it. Maybe he wants to go on vacation, but that's just not possible. And then, but also you're right, Jeff, for anybody in the regulating bodies, because they are the ones who will have to make decisions, and they should drive them, and they should drive them in a relaxed manner when they are by themselves, or when they have somebody from the Tesla service centers with them, to really experience it in a normal setting, not in a stage setting. So I think that's a very good idea. And that brings me actually to the point that we had after the earnings call, because I mean, it seems crazy, but the earnings call is just 2 days ago, 2 days ago, Tuesday, right? Some of these analyst questions, are really impossible. I mean, I do understand that for us retail investors, we have the SAY platform, and we probably should do a better job in upvoting things. But I mean, it is what it is. That's democracy. But these analysts obviously are not vetted. So I brought forward, and Travis, right, Axelrod was giving me just a laughing face. I don't know whether he takes that serious, but we're bringing forward that they should ask of those analysts now, because this is the moment where this is really crucial, whether they have ever put their butt in Tesla and whether they have ever experienced FSD, and if they have experienced FSD, which version it was. Because I really believe their questions would be completely different than the crap questions they've been asking. And it would just be such a different level of discussion with Elon and with the executive team at that moment, rather than having people, asking questions that are 2 years late and just not relevant.
Okay.
Now, Matt, explain us the Tumblr.
I don't get any Cyber Bulls merch from you guys. I need to up my game a little bit. This is the Tesla Earth Day 2024 Cyber Owls Tumblr. It's pretty sweet, I think.
And so that was Tesla doing a blue thing?
Yeah, Tesla.
That's weird.
Tesla Cyber Owl.
It was on sale?
It's like some knockoff.
I think it's a knockoff. That is not
I don't know
Tesla,
where you
dude.
got that. I think you got that from
That is not Tesla, dude.
the wrong website, but it's okay. It's okay, Matt. We're not
Okay.
surprised.
So
But we're not
I wanna
I got more Tesla cred than you guys. You're a little bit upset. I get it. This is a legit Tesla
Whoa.
product.
Are you kidding me? Whoa, they were talking to Queen, Tesla Boomer Mama. Okay. No cred there, dude. All right. So this is Tony Dwan, who works at, obviously Tesla AI Autopilot. And they're out. They're out tweeting this. Lots of hard work and many late nights went into making FSD 12.5 from across the team. Many ideas were simplified and reworked from first principles. So even though it's a 12.5, which is a point release, they actually, reworked a lot of things there. Hope everyone has a chance to try it out. It's a release we are proud of. And then you got Srihara Sampath Kumar, also part of the team. Ashok also reposted this. Proud to be working with insanely talented AI team, pushing the frontier of physical intelligence, where you not only need to be able to drive the car smoothly and safely, but also do that within extreme latency constraints, where every millisecond counts. We have optimized the AI inference stack from ground up, managed 5 times their parameter count, and yet run in real time with extremely high performance per watt. So let's get with you, Xander. What do you think about all of this going on, right? I mean, we tweeted back and forth, and I was saying, take a look at the team. That's what matters if you look at what they're saying.
Yeah, I think it's a great weather vane. Some will say it's a biased opinion, for them being proud of their work, but you could hear it in the community, and you could see it for yourself in videos. So my wife, who has 12.4, we didn't get 12.5 yet, but she commented that, FSD drives better than her. And she's more comfortable doing it now and letting it do its thing, even though like the sunglasses and all of that. But in terms of utilization of FSD, it's a very high percentage when you look at the stats. So I'm all for it. I think to hear Bradford and to have it validated by Jeff, I'm paying attention. I think it's I get why Elon wanted to have it on 8.8, and if it's that good, because remember they're like multiple generations ahead. If it's that good now, what does it look like at the end of the year or when they're actually going to release it?
Did you guys, when he said, this is Elon Musk himself saying that unsupervised FSD, which is Robotaxi, it could come by the end of this year. And then I'd be shocked not next year. Everyone else out there in the world just ignored it. It's Elon. He said that every year. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, so given how much of a step change this is, I think all you really need is data to prove that it actually is like multiples safer than human. I mean, at that point, Elon has made this point many years ago, and I think it's a valid one that maybe we don't think about enough. At the point at which it actually is multiples safer than a human, there's actually a moral problem with not like getting it into wide release to like start saving as many lives as you possibly can. So if the data suggests that, I mean, we're only in July going into August here. I mean, we've got many more months, and given how fast this is going, given how fast their compute clusters is growing, like I think there's reason to believe that 2024 might be the year that Elon actually keeps his promises. I would still bet, if I'm a betting man, on early 2025 probably, but it's not a crazy thing to say given what we know.
What do you mean if you're a betting man? I thought we made a huge bet early. So you're
we have
pulling
a
back.
bet and we're winning. We're winning against you, Herbert. You're renting a whole hotel, a whole Boeing jet to bring us there.
He's not a betting
All of
man.
us,
He's pulled back his
family and
bet.
friends.
So I must admit, yeah, I do have actually the quote from Elon himself about what he said. And let's show that. Wait, I'm going to go to here because he talks about how,
in addition, we would.
So the bet that we had was whether or not when Tesla decides to roll out Robotaxi for the first time, whether or not they're going to do it with customer owned cars, or they're going to do it with Tesla owned cars. And I've been saying it's got to be Tesla owned cars. But the way he makes the way he said this, it sure sounds like they're going to go straight to customer cars.
Make some number of cars for Tesla that would just be owned by Tesla and be added to the fleet. I guess that would be more like Uber. But this would all be the Tesla network. And there's an important clause we've put in every Tesla purchase, which is that the Tesla vehicles can only be used in the Tesla fleet. They cannot be used by a third party for autonomy.
Okay. And do you think that scales like progressively? So you can start in a city with just a handful of cars and you grow the number of cars over time? Or do you think there is like a critical mass to get to be able to offer like a service that is of competitive quality compared to what like Uber would be typically delivering already?
I guess I'm not conveying this correctly. The entire Tesla fleet basically becomes active. This is obviously, maybe there's some number of people who don't want their car to earn money, but I think most people will. It's instant scale. Thank you.
Wow. What do you guys think of what you heard there?
A quick clarifying question. So he said an agreement. Is he talking about like the Robotaxi application? Is that the agreement he's talking about? I didn't zone in.
No, what he meant is he agreed with Matt and Jeff and me.
Okay. I thought I think you're referring to that when he said that in the agreement that when you buy a Tesla car, it's in the clause there that you cannot use that car for any other Robotaxi ride-hailing service. It must be a Tesla network ride-hailing service.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. You mean people like using Uber or
No. If I bought my car and my car has FSD capability, I can't let Uber decide to create their own ride-hailing service using my Tesla.
Okay, gotcha.
You mean for autonomous use, not if you're sitting there and driving it.
Yeah.
So all these people that were buying like 50 Cybertrucks and they can't do their own little thing, I'm assuming.
They can in the Tesla network, but not in the other fleets network.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Anyway, Herbert's wrong.
Herbert's
I mean,
Let's be clear.
Surprise,
in other news,
surprise. Exactly.
This is exactly the way it was laid out like 5 years ago by Elon, that customers would be able to participate.
Exactly.
Tesla might own some. And
No, autonomy day.
Herbert missed that day. Herbert missed that day.
We played it to him
Tesla
3 times already.
Okay, let's
can do a 4th time.
Okay, we're going long. It's all beta right now, right? One day, Elon will say, okay, we're ready to do Robotaxi commercial program. The way he made it sound like was he'll press a button and all 7 million of us can just add our car to the Tesla network and it's available for everybody and anybody. I just always thought that, okay, normally they would do a pilot in one little city first, just test it out, the app, test out everything, and then roll it out to everybody. And there will be a Tesla-owned vehicle at that point. That's what I'm saying. But I may be wrong.
Herbert, I've made that point before. We have a pilot. The pilot has been going on for years, right? It's not, and I think Elon has said, I don't know, hundreds of times that contrary to all others, this is not geofence. This works everywhere. This works everywhere without any further. So what you want to do, a pilot for in Phoenix, Arizona? What's this about? Are you stuck in the Waymo world?
Yes, I think you're right now. I get okay.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna cost him some money, Matt. But it's okay.
Well,
You said we can bring all the children and
Well,
friends, right?
First of all, I just caught you red-handed, Alexander. You are absolutely wrong. Matt is correct. You are wrong. Take a look at this. Matt is correct. This is available on the website of Tesla.
For the English in pounds. I mean, come on, who is gonna buy that? This is the English.
He's
It's for
changing the
English in
subject.
pounds.
There you go.
He is, of course, he is.
You are
This
wrong.
Herbert
this is for the pounds.
Herbert's
English
way
in
more
pounds.
wrong than right.
You're reusing the joke.
Endless. It's endless.
How wrong I am. Okay, well, I'm not the only one who believed that. That would be shocking if that's what they do. That's impressive. And I guess Tesla does things differently. They sure do.
No, Herbert, I thought you said that you didn't. The bet was you believed that it had to have been a purpose-built robotaxi to be put into the network and not our own cars. I thought that was the original bet.
Initially.
Not rolling it out by city or whatever.
No,
Right.
he actually
That's
lost
true.
multiple bets. So he's
Okay.
paying
That's
us
true.
multiple to Hawaii.
So we're going through layers of bets that
and layers
Herbert's
of
lost.
trouble.
He's double or nothing. He's lost.
And he's doubling down. I just want to point out, we don't talk about it. We just know we won. We're waiting for the tickets. Every show, he keeps on going, oh, I think you're right. Oh, he's still having this refusal moment, right? When you're in denial, when you're like, okay, maybe I have a chance. And no, this is better. And okay. So
Okay.
I'm just really sorry for our listeners because these people, they come
We
to
will
us.
see. We're not yet done here. Okay. But okay.
Herbert's
it
going to
sure
chop
sounded
the
like-
last 5 minutes out. All right, let's move on.
It sure sounds like it. All right. Well, let's let's take a look at an actual video. I wanted to show your video, Jeff.
These are
but
better.
it didn't
These
go.
people are
So
professionals. They're doing
This is AI
overlays.
driver.
Yeah,
navigates
they're
around
great.
a crash. So apparently there's a crash coming up, or there is a crash somewhere, and it navigated around it somehow. Oh, there.
Is that a
Okay,
bolt?
there's that car. The
that
blue
a
car
bolt?
stuck there, and it's going to turn left. So the car's stuck. There's cars going around it, and it knew to wait, and then there it goes. Okay, pause to make sure it's my turn. Wow.
Yeah.
Flawless.
Good job. Do you talk to your Teslas? I always talk to my Tesla. I'm like, good job. Like the kid.
Yeah, I tap the wheel. I say, good Tesla, good Tesla.
It's only a problem when it starts talking back to you.
Okay, wait.
No, we want it. We want
All
the
right,
graph.
let's try XI so I can talk to me. Let's do it.
First of all, what's the name of your Teslas?
Lexi.
Okay.
Goddard.
Goddard?
Goddard.
That's romantic.
Goddard.
Goddard for the rocket scientist.
Okay. Goddard.
Xander.
I have 3, so I have a bunch. I have Magneo, Fortuitous, which changed to an X, and then I forget. Oh, the Nebuchadnezzar. So yeah. What?
Okay,
I'm a
nothing.
Matrix fan. Oh, you don't know the Nebuchadnezzar? Come on, it's the ship that piloted Neo and Morpheus around the.
I've seen the
depths of
show,
the
but I just
Matrix.
don't remember these things. Jeff.
It's a movie.
I haven't named my
I've seen-
recent Teslas. I've named the ones before that, but not the recent ones.
That's right. You refused to tell us the name. I remember now. One of the shows
Yeah.
you said
That's
one
exactly
day
it.
when you get
good
drunk.
memory.
this
I haven't
weekend.
named the recent 2. I should.
The best name I've heard so far is from our buddy Andrew Kim, and he named it. He put a little eagle and some spitting emojis, and apparently that stands for hawk. To
It made it onto this show now.
I have
yes.
I have the most popular name, which is Tessa. Just very simple name, Tessa. The funny thing is that we're making fun of it now, but as soon as you have Grok in there and you're talking, you will talk to you will be patting it. You will be establishing a relationship with it, right?
So let's get to the gender question. What car is what? So Lexi, my ex, is a girl, of course. Now Matt, tell us.
Well, yeah, Goddard was a man. He was the first man to build a liquid fueled rocket engine. So a very, very masculine car.
And that's an X, right? Or that's
It's a Y.
Y? Okay.
It's an XY. It's a Y.
Xander, your 3 are boys, girls?
Boys, I
He
guess.
doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Yeah, they're gender fluid. I don't.
There you go. California's back.
I'm in California right now, so.
And Jeff has the
Jeff-
nameless, genderless ones, or what are they?
I haven't named the last two. I should. I will do that.
I know, but do you know at least whether you feel is the Cybertruck more a boy? Is the X more a girl? Is it all boys?
I don't think about that.
Oh.
I don't know. I
Don't
haven't given
gender
that
the
enough
robot.
Exactly.
Don't gender the
Okay,
robot.
We don't gender the robot.
I just haven't given that enough thought. It just hasn't hit the priority list yet.
Okay.
Maybe it will.
Keep us updated when it's out.
Keep us updated.
I will.
Priorities. All right. Let's go to the next topic. It sounds like we've done 12.5. We're very excited about it. XAI and Tesla. So, of course, that came out. Elon sent a post out, or actually started with Gally. Russell, we had him on the show before. He sent a post and said that Tesla should buy $5 billion worth of XAI. He's not the first. Many others have said this in the past. And then Elon replied to him and he said, in order to do that, we would have to have a shareholder vote, but why don't I go do a poll? He did the poll. Generic users in X, I think it was 68% or something like that eventually after 24 hours said that they agree with that sentiment. We've been having kind of a number of debates in the community. And I think most of us think that Tesla should do this, but there's some, like Nick Gibbs yesterday was saying that he thinks it might be not worth the money to do that. Who wants to take that on? Yeah.
I think it's one thing whether we agree on the principle of it, and I think most of us do. The next question is at what price? Because everything has a price. And so there are a couple of different theories, and I haven't really made my mind up. I'm all for it. I see why XAI was set up the way it was set up apart from Tesla, because people asking now for I don't know how many months that it should have been part of Tesla. It just wouldn't have existed. Those engineers wouldn't be there because they don't want to be in a mega cap huge boat that is not for them the way they want this. They want to have a startup that will at one point IPO where they get really rich, and they have that opportunity with all the competitors. And so in order for them to not go to competitors but to go to now XAI, it had to be set up that way. So that's just a fact. I mean, these companies are their main asset is their engineers, so you have to accommodate what they want, and that's just it. Now, for Tesla to purchase some part of XAI, I think that's a very good idea. Valuation at the moment, if I remember right, was 24 billion. May probably be already a little bit higher. That was the last time they had a capital raise, and they got 6 billion out of that. To be at 24 billion. And so if that price is still current, 5 billion would get us, I don't know, a good close to 20%, somewhere between 15 and 20%. Now, the one point I just want to make is these AI companies are very difficult to value. It's not one of, there's just so few comparables out there. None of them is public yet. You have the investments of some of them, of the mega caps into them, but you don't really know all the conditions. So it's very, very complicated to find a good valuation method. OpenAI, the last news we had this week is that they expect a $5 billion loss this year. Probably in the grand scheme of things, that's not a huge amount, but $5 billion is a lot of money to lose money. So the question really is, what is XAI worth? How much is the premium that it's one of Elon's companies worth? Because Elon's company always have a premium and should have a premium, but how much is that worth? So I just, want to be a little bit cautious about how that will be valued, and it will be so scrutinized. I mean, if those that have been in Tesla, I wasn't then yet, but those that have been in Tesla for Solar City all remember the pain it was to get that through the court cases then afterwards. This will open a lot of scrutiny as well, so we just have to be prepared for that. I think it's worth it at the right price.
Okay, let's do a quick poll. Everybody raise your hand if you think you would vote that Tesla should buy $5 billion in XAI. 3, 4, Jeff?
I want to see the terms.
Jeff?
I want to see the terms of the deal.
I just said
Alexandra's valuation terms, yeah.
Beyond valuation, but first, right of refusal. I mean, there's a number of different things I want to see, but yeah, I'm supportive.
No.
Sorry to be difficult.
No, that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, I thought that like, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I think like Elon responding to someone else suggesting that all the companies should be put under one umbrella is another thing like where the shareholders are thinking about. We'd like that, but at the same time, it's very difficult for shareholders to be rewarded properly if everything is under one umbrella. So,
and institutionals won't like that. We've had that discussion over the years, and I'm not saying we should or should not do it because of institutionals, but you have to understand that institutionals may at that moment exit Tesla if they would have to be in X Corp or whatever it is to have a share of this. So they find it already difficult. We're getting back to our discussion, should Tesla be in the consumer discretionary basket? Now, if you suddenly have Tesla and you have Neuralink and you have SpaceX and everything in one big X Corp, well, that makes it even more difficult for them to classify, to benchmark it, and to understand earnings. I don't think that will happen. I honestly don't think. I think that certain companies are now so mature that they don't want to mix everything in one basket with the startups. And I'm not even sure it would be beneficial for Elon to do so. I think there's a purpose for having it segregated. Neuralink is having its own challenges and potential, and you want to really make sure that you have that within SpaceX. I don't see it, but I think that the main driver for us retail investors is we actually would like to have a share of all of those, right? So what I would very much appreciate, but that's just not in our scope, is that there would be preferential shares for those companies for long-standing retail investors of Tesla. That's something I think would be really interesting, rather than just having to be, investing $250,000 minimum, have to be a certain level of an investor to be able to get those. If there would be some arrangement, I think that would actually solve the wish that people have to be able to invest into all these companies. It doesn't have to be really a merger of all these companies.
Would it be beneficial to have, some company with AI in the name? Is that the thinking behind, changing from consumer discretionary and auto, and now you have a little piece of an AI entity that I know that currently they don't make money.
Sure, I see what you mean, but it's not because Tesla would hold 5% of XAI that you have that knowledge, because Tesla has now a market cap, I don't know how much it is now, 800 billion. So putting 5 billion in XAI, it's not large in the scheme to really give change the characteristics or the way they want to see it. At the moment, they see it still as a car company. They should have understood this time that we're now 16% energy profitability. We'll probably get to that in a second. So they should slowly start moving. For a 5 billion stake in an AI company, that's not going to change in their mind the way they describe the company. I don't think so.
And it's 700 billion, by the way.
700 billion. We were at 800, and I forgot about it. Okay.
What's your opinion on this, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, like a $5 billion investment, it doesn't really move the needle that much. Like some of the kind of interesting things that they might be able to do, like if you've got some of the stuff that XAI might be working on that you could then use to make the in-car entertainment system, like that's kind of interesting. But you can also do that on an arm's length transaction. So exactly how it's done is not super interesting to me, because I think like you're going to get like a trade-offs either way, and in neither scenario does the value of Tesla really change in any meaningful way. So I think it's like some interesting ideas, but I don't think it really is a very impactful decision one way or another for those reasons.
Again, I have different opinion, you guys. I think we're all the same, but just slightly different severities. I think it's imperative that Tesla has an AI part of it. And Tesla does have AI. They have real world AI, very powerful, probably the best in the world. But to have an LLM that has the ability to get to AGI, wasn't it Omar that pointed out that of the Mag 7, Tesla is the only one that doesn't have a ownership or investment in an LLM. Elon himself said that we need to have this AI team in Tesla, but I couldn't recruit them. And so that's why I had to create a new company. And so there should be a deeper relationship between the two, because today it's an LLM. And people I've been talking to yesterday said, yeah, but LLMs are a commodity. Their price is zero. It's all crashing now. Who knows how, people at Facebook is offering for free. That's true. That's today. But the whole point of what they're doing is when you combine it with real world data that only Tesla has, you can then get closer to AGI. And AGI is the holy grail. And it starts off with the LLMs, generative technology, and it goes up forward. It's imperative. We need to get into something. Not that Tesla doesn't have it already, just to be clear. Tesla has the biggest, the most strongest AI that's out there. It's just that you need to have all kinds of AI together.
Is there any benefit to owning a piece for Elon's 25% and control aspect? No? Okay.
I don't think so. I think the 25% has been taken care of by the move to Texas. I don't think they will move until the Delaware has confirmed that move, because I hate every time to talk about this Delaware court, but we're still in it. So when you leave Delaware and you move to another state, you have 4 months to inform them, for them to ratify it, to sort of give you the goodbye letter. We moved out on the 16th of June, the next day after the shareholder meeting. So we have, I think it's 120 days, the exact account, so until middle of October to inform the court, the Chancery Court of Delaware, that we're leaving. And that would be a simple ratification. It's a procedure called 204. And that could be something really easy, except for the Tonetta plaintiffs' attorneys, the nice guys, have already said they will object it. So Tesla hasn't filed it yet. As I said, they can do it until middle of October. And then once they do it, if then the Tonetta plaintiff's attorney objects, then it becomes what is called a 205, moving from a 204 to a 205. And in 205, it is a contested ratification. So there we go through a whole procedure where they're heard, and then the judge will have to make the decision whether we can just leave and whether, there's any reason not to leave. I do believe we win this one. It's just not over yet. And so could be that it's still done this year, could be spring next year. Once we're there, once this is the whole chapters behind it, I do believe that then they will issue preferred shares for Elon. And in that Texas domiciliation, redomestication is the right word, so I was looking for. They filed straight away legal documents for the company, which gave the board of directors the power, so they don't have to do shareholder meetings for that, to issue preferred shares with voting rights. So that was initially in the proxy we voted on in June. So given that that's already all laid out and prepared, I think that's what they're going to do, because those will be preferred shares with enhanced voting rights, and they will be for Elon. He never talked about that he wanted to have 25% of the shares monetarily, the real shares. For him, it was about voting rights. And by getting these preferred shares, he would have those voting rights. So I think that subject is just taken care of. I don't think XI, it would give obviously XI 5 billion more cash, which I'm sure is welcome, because I remember when they raised money, there was issues that they actually had provisions for more, and then they had 6 billion and they closed it there. I don't know whether they really wanted more or whether they just couldn't have more. I have no opinion on that. I wouldn't know. But I'm sure that another 5 billion is always welcome in a startup of this size.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. That is XAI and Tesla. Exciting. I'm happy. And I will see what others think, but it looks like 68% of the voters, well, again, it's just random, so we don't really know what the actual thing will happen. So post earnings, we had an earnings call. Curious what the team here, Matt, I don't know if I've actually heard your opinion on this yet. Why don't you start?
I sent it to you yesterday, so maybe you didn't watch the video.
I did. I did watch it, dude. I watched it.
Oh, it was just so boring. You don't remember a thing. Yeah. So I mean, the takeaway was just that I think it's a mildly disappointing quarter when you're looking at the earnings results. So the kind of high level takeaway was they had higher than expected severance costs, one-time item. So if you back that out, then the earnings are going to look a little bit better. But that's almost entirely offset by way higher than expected regulatory credits. So if you kind of net those out, it's about even. It's actually a slight benefit. You have your estimated earnings per share a little bit higher. So what you're left with was around a 7-cent miss. I think it was. I don't have the exact figure in front of me. Just on what I call the core kind of operations. So auto gross margin X credits took a big hit this quarter. I think a lot due to the financing arrangement they had and potentially some higher manufacturing costs. We're not sure exactly how that gets split out. But like a mild miss, not anything like too concerning, slightly negative. So I think the kind of reaction the stock had, maybe it was slightly overdone, but I certainly wouldn't have expected the stock to kind of stay flat or go up after those results. So that's kind of my main takeaway. Maybe we'll talk about energy in a little bit because I think there is a lot more to unpack on that front, but that's more in why we're excited about the stock in the future as opposed to what's going on with the actual Q2 results themselves.
Okay. And then Xander, can you explain? Xander, you there? Can you explain why the stock fell like crazy? You got your finger on the pulse of what's going on, and why did it fall so much when it looked like, for us Bulls, we saw it as positive, and of course the others are focused on the auto gross margin. That's
I just said I saw it as a slight negative, but you never listened to me, Herbert.
You listened, he just disregarded what you said.
That's the second time he's ignored what I said about the Q2 results.
When you come on the channel, Matt, I'm so pleased because usually I'm the only one calling him out. Jeff is much too polite, and Xander is calculating.
Try to set up Xander because I want to hear what Xander thinks. Because by the way, Xander's an expert in the space.
You didn't listen, Herbert. Don't bubble around. We know you didn't listen.
Let's listen to Xander. Okay, listen.
Monkey throwing darts. That's me. I'm monkey. Matt, did the margins bottom last quarter, or is it because it's just one-time things that caused the slight miss?
Yeah, so technically the margins bottomed last quarter, but there was a very large benefit from regulatory credits. So if you back those out, then there actually was a decrease in gross margins this quarter on the auto side of the business. So that's, I think, an important thing to keep an eye on. And I think there's at least a reasonable prospect that could continue into Q3, given the fact that we're going to have this kind of subsidized financing offer for the entire quarter, presumably, rather than just for 2 months.
And did the Cybertruck have anything to do with the increased?
Yeah, so presumably I think this is a relatively small impact, and because they don't break out, Cybertruck deliveries, let alone costs separately, it just takes a bit of estimation. But I would imagine that the gross margin on Cybertrucks probably a little bit less than like the corporate average gross margin across all their vehicle sales. Now they've got a very high price point, so it's actually, maybe that's not true. Probably in Q4 that was certainly, or in Q1 that was certainly true. In Q2, I think that was probably true, just based on the fact that they did, 8,000, 10,000, something like that, vehicles. So like all that fixed cost, you're only amortizing over a small amount of vehicles. That's offset by the fact that they're at a much higher ASP than the other vehicles, and that's going to come down over time. So I think it's overall a pretty minor impact, given how small a percent of the overall deliveries Cybertrucks would make up, but it's certainly a consideration.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then did the energy piece delight, or was it a nothing burger?
Yeah, energy was a star. So let me actually get the actual numbers, and so I'm not just going off my horrible old dad memory. But yeah, so the revenues were up. It was like 87%, I think, quarter over quarter. Let me scroll over here.
Yeah, it was like a double, right? It wasn't like 100% year over year.
Yeah, roughly. So the deployments were up about 136% at quarter over quarter was the figure I was looking at. I think the revenues were up 87% quarter over quarter. Year over year is a bigger jump. And then the energy gross margin, I mean, this is the thing that's a little bit more important. I'm just in the middle of updating my whole model here, so it's a little bit messy. Yeah, so the gross
Larry
profit
Goldberg a call right now and get those numbers faster.
I thought Xander was going to be talking about the stock price. I thought I was done. I thought I could.
Well, while you work on that, take a look.
I've actually got it. I'll answer it.
Okay.
So it was 400 million in Q1, the gross margin on energy, and that jumped to 740. So nearly a doubling, not quite.
Gotcha. And then as a component of the business in terms of the top line, it's what, 12, 13% of revenue?
That sounds about right. I'm not going to take 2 minutes and do the math.
No, but roughly.
Roughly that, but in an outsized portion of the gross margin, because the gross margins are higher than the auto side of the business, and importantly, it's growing way faster than auto.
24.6. Exactly. They're
Gotcha.
24.6 for energy, and they were 14.7 if you look at it the most negative way for cars. It's not really 14.6 because you have to reintegrate those layoff numbers and whatever. But there is a significant difference between the car gross margin and the energy gross margin. And the energy gross margin, it's just also getting so stable, right? It's that is, I think, the best surprise, other than there's actually so much more waiting for it. And I think Matt will explain that to us once he has his spreadsheets sorted out.
So I think this is like the most important part of the news story that we're looking at, as Elon stated with the new chapter, and it's not even a new chapter; it's a new book. You had a options market was pricing in about a plus or minus 9% move. So in this case, it's a miss. It's a Wall Street miss. So they acted accordingly. I thought that once the Wall Street type understood that like the energy growth is coming, that is how I was explaining the move from 180 to 270. So to have it kind of stabilize here and bounce does make sense. But me personally, I posted about this. I'm kind of worried about macro to see, like, because I think Tesla will get dragged down, back down. That's one of the questions I want to ask all of you. I don't know if we want to do that right now, Herbert, but I really want to know what you guys think about the macro with yields and uninverting, and the rotation into small caps, and how that's seems to be playing out. With obviously the volatility index has really spiked, and we're seeing a lot of wild swings. Not all at once. I know it's an exciting topic.
I can start again, but I feel I'm talking all day today, but it's okay. I think we have now, the market is 100% aligned in having the first rate cut in September. So I don't think that is going to be a major driver for the market anymore. That seems to be priced in. Could be earlier, could be later, who knows? But at the moment, that seems to be the general provision. I just want to point out that we are entering a period with reduced rates, and so that is going to be fundamentally much better for the core business of Tesla, meaning, selling cars is much easier with lower interest rates. So that's something people should remember. The second point is that the whole economic and political environment will obviously depend a lot on the elections in November. So we're now end of July. We're still having 3 months of uncertainty politically, and I think it's going to be quite a brutal period now, right? Just we have now a new Democratic candidate, has to be confirmed in August, and then I think the last 2 months of the campaign are going to be very brutal and will have a certain impact on institutional investors who may just want to go into all cash and sit it out until after the elections. So my whole outlook for the Tesla shares is rather sideways until October. I think the Robotaxi event will bring a lot of things. Now, do remember, there are a lot of things happening in October. We'll have beginning of October the delivery numbers. We should have by middle of October that 204 filing in Delaware. We also have some old court cases who are going to open again end of September, beginning of October in Delaware. So we're not done with Delaware yet. There's a couple of old stuff still around. We may have the judgment in the Tonetta case. Then we'll have on October 10th the Robotaxi Day, on October 18th or 20th, somewhere around there, the earnings for a third quarter. So there is a lot of stuff happening in October, and then on November 5th, the elections. So it could very well be sideways until we're behind the elections. That's what I'm trying to say, because there's just so much happening and so much uncertainty.
And I'll just try to share my thoughts on that broadly too. So I'm pretty concerned about consumer spending. We got a really strong GDP print today, which I was actually a bit surprised by. It seemed that a lot of the indications were that the economy might be slowing down a little bit, but the economy just seems to be like crushing it. I think the problem is consumer spending is more or less tapped out. And that being such a big driver in the economy, that is something that I'm concerned about. So I think any kind of large consumer discretionary companies have a bit of risk. Tesla certainly among those. With Tesla in particular, I think that kind of risk coupled with kind of near-term potentially another soft-ish Q3, I think that could certainly weigh on the stock for a while. But that's also, I think, offset a little bit, or at least the way that I'm thinking about it is, with as fast as FSD is moving, that might just become a mainstream opinion that they've solved it pretty soon. And if that happens, then that can be, a kind of revaluation type of event. That's definitely not investment advice, and I'm not, positioning our clients to kind of take advantage of any short-term swing on a revaluation. But I think where I'm thinking about things, I'd like to be long-term invested for Tesla now, even if we do end up dropping another $50 or something like that. And then just on your point on small caps and kind of sector rotation, we do invest in a couple of small cap companies, and I think you were in the situation, back during the COVID peaks where the valuations just made no sense on the upside. And I think for a lot of these companies, like the pendulum swung way too far in the other direction, where like some companies that have really strong growth prospects that we like are trading at like PEs of 10. Other companies are trading at just like fractions of where we think they should be trading. So there's probably a lot of losers mixed in with the winners and small caps in general. And so, maybe the market's taking some time to sort out which ones, might get disrupted by AI and some of the other changes that are going on in the economy. But my point of view is small caps probably deserve to get more love than they have, given that like the Mag 6 made up almost all of the returns in the market in the past 2 years or so.
Yeah, the only thing I'll just add a couple of quick points back on the Tesla earnings. If everybody wants to put a headline out, get a tweet out under 100 some characters and move on. And if you look into the gross margin side of it, the 180 basis points, when Tesla made a decision about how they want to run their supply chain from Q1 to Q2, they had the stranded inventory from Q1. We told you about it. A lot of people didn't believe it, but it was true. Then they flushed it. They made a decision. They could have built more, and they could have kept production steady or higher than Q1 and just kept the inventory. That's what Ford's doing. That's what Stellantis is doing. That's why they're over 90 days right now in inventory. But what Tesla did is they said, no, we are an efficient company. We want low network latency. We want low assets on the books as it relates to these variable assets. So they burned off that inventory. And when you do that, it's all interconnected. They took their production down meaningfully, which took down the utilization rate. So now you're taking all these fixed costs that are still there. The factories don't go away. And then you're dividing it on top of it. Now, Tesla did make moves to deprecate labor assets in the factory as well. That was part of the reductions. And I'm assuming they deprecated some capital when they did that as well, as they're going to retool and get ready for these new vehicles. But they didn't take credit for that. They didn't make that a one-time item and put it to the side. They brought it into the gross margin equation. So if I were to point to a couple of things on gross margins, one is they made a decision to take their volumes down. They're going back up in Q3. They told us that. They're going back up in Q4. Okay, so put that to the side. Because if you're running a COGS reduction program and you're not building enough new units, you're not going to see those COGS reductions in the way you'd want to see them in the quarter, because you're just burning the inventory you built from the prior quarter. So that's one. Two, they tripled the output rate of the Cybertruck and they doubled shipments. So what does that mean? Your production's always ahead of your deliveries. And when you take that big of a move in terms of production, they still haven't solved all the cost and yield challenges to build a Cybertruck. They told you that it's not going to get the break even till the end of the year. So picture in your mind December 31st, first quarter of next year, basically, is when they're building Cybertrucks, where every Cybertruck that comes off the line is actually accretive to Tesla. Everything before that is a net drag. It's a burn. So that's going to hit the gross margins. You put it on a number. What if it's $10,000 for Cybertruck right now that they're losing, times the 11,000 ship, but more importantly, times the new build output, which is up at I think 1,500 a week now. That's the second point. And then the third point is they told you S3 XY COGS are lower. So net of Cybertruck, that they're able to take their COGS down. But again, when you have that overlay of not building the volume and flushing the inventory, you're not going to see that, and your fixed costs are going to be too high. So what am I saying? I didn't see anything structurally that in there that shows me that the breadwinners for Tesla, the 3 and the Y, like they don't know how to build them profitably. In fact, they took their costs down. Now, the third thing, and the thing that's kind of, they looks like they took a more aggressive approach to how they're reflecting this financing. Okay, so they're being more aggressive there, but then they have all these credits coming in. So I don't have a problem with their approach, but I think the issues are explainable and they're not necessarily structural. Finally, Tesla has entered into this quote unquote mini auto problem recession. You saw what happened with GM earnings. You saw what happened with Ford earnings. You saw what happened with Stellantis earnings. They're not good. And Tesla saw that sooner because they have lower network latency. So they're seeing these things much sooner. They don't have a bunch of product and inventory built at old pricing, old costs, sitting around in inventory. They're seeing the issues sooner. They don't have a dealer network that's buffering. They see it sooner. They react sooner. They did their internal reductions. And then when they go out with these new COGS reductions, they have 18 days of inventory. They're burning through this basically in a couple of weeks. Half of that's in transit. So Tesla's put themselves in a good position to both enter and come out of this auto slowdown faster than anyone else. I'm not saying the coast is clear and everything's great in Q3 and Q4. What I am saying is it seems like the causes from Q2, the one cause about lower production, they're going to get rid of that. But I think what will be weighing it down is the financing program, and then quite frankly, Cybertruck. How much progress did they make on COGS and Cybertruck? So that's, to me, the Tesla earnings piece. If you just had a 5-minute look in the gross margins, it's pretty explainable what's happening. It's not structural. I think it's something that they can work through and resolve. On the macro side, the one thing I'll say is I will go back to this inventory piece. These auto companies getting over 90 days of inventory, they basically have the next quarter of product already built and already sitting in distribution for people to buy. Like, they don't even need to build anymore. GM, for every 2 EVs they built in the first half of this year, only one was actually delivered. So that'd be like Tesla building 800,000 cars in the first half and only delivering 400,000 over the first 6 months. That's the way they're running their businesses right now. So they're growing and ballooning inventory. So I do think there's a tie into that GDP number, which I think a lot of this was putting product into inventory. And that's where Matt's seeing the consumer slowdown. So that's, auto's a little bit of a canary in the coal mine. I'd be a little bit concerned about that from a macro perspective.
Yeah, so that's looking back, like inventory, restructuring, Cybertruck. What are your thoughts on capacity and that, what did they say, like 50% growth over 2023?
It was the question that no analyst asked on the call that I was screaming about. I can't believe people aren't asking, why do you think you're gonna increase your production by 50% next year? First off, when Tesla increases production, they aim to ship it. They run at 18 days of inventory. This isn't just the build stuff to have it. So we know they're ramping a couple of new products next year, but that doesn't speak to this big a jump. So there's something we don't know that's happening. We obviously know they're doing these new vehicles in the first half, but I mean, how much money can they actually take out of these vehicles? 4 to 6K? Do we really think that alone is going to drive the 50% uptake, or is there something going on that's so special with FSD? And like, I mean, I've changed my decision in terms of like, I always want to drive the car that has FSD on it right now. I almost would never want to get into a car, drive a car now. I don't know if this just, if you think about FSD next year, I mean, it's just going to be would you buy a car that doesn't have FSD? I know we're all Tesla fans and so forth, but I think we know the answer to that, but I think others are going to know the answer to that. So why did Tesla increase production by 50%? It's not very clear. They don't do that willy-nilly too. They keep their production, their capacity tight. They basically have about a 20% buffer on the whole thing. And to say, hey, we're going to go from building 175 to 18, this year, and now we're going up 50% and we're putting in 3 million units of capacity. That's a big move. Nobody asked that question.
And then lastly, any chance, I know they don't want to Osborne, Elon, is guiding for first half of 25. Is there any chance that it comes earlier in your mind?
I don't think so. I think these are the modules. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say one quick thing. These are the modules from the next platform vehicle. These were going to ramp in the first half of next year anyway to support mid-year production of the next generation platform. I think there's some movement on that product. I don't know if it's a couple of months here or there, but Tesla, basically made a decision. We can build something that's lower cost using the existing CapEx and do it faster, get the market faster, get our COGS down faster, and leverage our existing CapEx longer. That is a much better decision to make when you're in an uncertain environment. Sorry, Alexandra.
And I want to come back to what the discussion we had last week when Larry Goldberg was here and said he thought Robotaxi Day would only be later, like November or whatever, and
January.
could be up to January because it could be combined with the new models, right? Not only the Cyber Cab variants, but also new models. I think that's clearly known now because now we have Robotaxi Event on October 10th, and I do believe the new models. And obviously, Jeff knows much better than me, not on the unboxed model, so not on but on the mix of the current improved way of building, but not yet moving all the way to the future way of setup. I expect those in Q1 2025 now. I really think those are two segregated events, and we're going to hear very late about the introduction of these cars. And he said it twice. Osborne, and he said it a couple of weeks as well to Sawyer. Remember when there was this picture that was supposed to be a new Model Y? That disappeared very quickly because there was no new Model Y. I just think they're keeping it very clear. Nothing about new models for the moment. That's all 2025.
Wow. Okay, great conversation. Everybody's giving detailed information. Even you, Matt, thank you for joining on that. I appreciate it.
Even you, Matt. What does that mean?
Matt, come on. Go ahead.
My reputation is going nerdy and deep on this stuff, so
you did great.
I don't know. You got to up your insult game, Herbert. It's got to make sense at least.
I'm not good.
To hang out with Prasad.
But I was listening very closely when Jeff was listening. That one I certainly was listening very closely to.
So he was listening closely to Jeff.
Jeff, yeah.
Matt, what the heck about you and me?
We've established that Jeff is way more interesting than I am.
The queen.
I've given my
I'm telling you.
Q2 recap to Herbert like 3 times, and he still has no idea what I think.
We all agree. But Jeff, what you said was mic drop. Fantastic, Jeff. That was brilliant. I do think that
good.
The Cybertruck obviously it was one of the reasons why the auto gross margins was low. But if it was really bad and there was no plan to fix it, Elon would be there. He would be sleeping on that line. He'd fix it. I have a more confident at this point that it's going to be, they see a path out of this, and that's not really a big issue. I'm assuming, because if it was, Elon would be sleeping there. I do want to bring it back to the beginning. We were talking about full self-driving, and it could be that everything we all just said, how brilliant and important it is moot. I always say mute. It's moot. Because look what Elon even said about you, Matt. Elon said, if you are talking about the car business, you're missing it. You got to be talking about FSD. If you don't believe in Robotaxi, don't invest in this business. So,
yeah, and I think that's right, because I mean, so I do this weekly or daily finance spaces, with people from a variety of different industries, and they've always got these hot takes on Tesla that are like so uninformed as to be infuriating, and they're like, oh, look, like, hey, they missed earnings for the fourth quarter in a row. Like, this company should be cut in half. And it's like, there's this level of analysis going on there where it's like, if you are only looking at the auto business and you're not doing the deep dive that Jeff just did, if you're not looking at this energy piece of the business that hopefully we'll talk about in a second here, and if you're not like actually driving and experiencing FSD, this was one of Elon's comments on the call, like, he goes and talks to analysts, or probably not Elon, but the CFO, the IR, will talk to like analysts in New York City, and they like ask him these questions about full self-driving. And hey, by the way, like, you can just try it. So hey, analysts that are putting out your really like detailed reports around Tesla and including some valuation for FSD, have you tried the technology? Because if you haven't, like, you're not doing your job. So I get really frustrated when all the MBA types out there, and I'm embarrassingly an MBA myself, but it's like you the most banal and like uninformative thing you can do if you're trying to say, is a company overvalued or undervalued, is just like look at the PE and look at like earnings misses or beats, and like to let your analysis stop there. You got to go way deeper. You got to go forward looking. You got to understand the product, and from there you've got a chance of hopefully having a take that's more informed than the market. And otherwise you're just going to get run over, I think, as an investor if you're not going deep on this sort of stuff. So it drives me nuts, to be honest with you, that there are so many talking heads out there that just have like the most egregious surface level analysis, and like, oh, Tesla should be worth 120 today because you missed earnings in Q2. Like, it irritates me to no end.
Bravo.
Nice.
It's like, how do you value the company? Yeah.
So you just did a deep dive on energy, and you discovered something that few have seen. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, sure. So as we said before, this was an item that when you had Larry and I on to talk about Tesla Energy a couple weeks ago, Larry essentially convinced me in real time that there was the massive upside potential, which would increase Tesla's gross margins on the energy side of the business from where they have been really consistent right now at the 25% range, which is like good and happy. And that's frankly where they guided that they'd be long-term. But they have this footnote in their 10Qs, which notes their what's called unsatisfied performance obligations around Tesla Energy. They don't give a whole lot of detail around this, but best we can kind of tell, it's related to things like performance guarantees on their megapacks. So when you take delivery of a megapack, it's rated at 3.9 megawatt hours, but the customer doesn't really know if you actually can deliver 3.9 megawatt hours out of that megapack until they energize it and perform some tests on it. There's similar guarantees around the capacity rating, so the megawatts of output that each megapack can perform, and various other things, where if Tesla misses on their delivered product, if it only delivers 3.7 megawatt hours, let's say, or lower rated capacity or lower actual capacity than what the unit's rated for, Tesla has to pay what's called liquidated damages in order to make the customer whole for the non-performance of the megapacks. That's what we think it probably is. And the accounting of it, as Larry noted, is you can't recognize any of the revenue that's attributable to that performance guarantee until those obligations are met. And importantly, there's no cost associated with those. So I won't go into all the accounting detail, but the cost associated with like actually manufacturing the megapack is only ascribed to the megapack hardware milestones. So once the actual performance tests are done, that's when you would recognize this revenue. So as long as the megapacks for the most part, meet the specifications, then you can be recognizing this huge amount of revenue at potentially very good margins. What Larry and I were estimating in this video that we put out just earlier today was like 90% gross margins for this component of the future revenue, this unsatisfied performance obligations. And so if this thesis is right, then the modeling we were doing basically shows that Tesla Energy's gross margins will get up to around 40% in the next, by like late 2025. And so the increase in gross margins is one piece of it that's really exciting. But the other piece of it, which is really exciting, is just how significant the revenue is. And if you want to go real nerdy, I can kind of share some of the. I can do a screen share.
Yep, do it.
I want to get into it. All right, so I'll just do the charts, and we did a deeper dive video that I can refer everyone to if they want to go a little deeper into this. But here, let me share the screen.
Is the Rebellionaire lion going to run across the screen first?
Brett's here,
right.
hiding behind the curtain.
So I'll just share these charts. Can you guys see that all right?
Yeah.
Got the Cyberbulls logo in there.
This is...
I got it. I got Cyberbull logo.
We did that.
Here, watch this.
Over your face.
Who's met anyway? Okay.
It only happens when I'm speaking. Let me.
I love it. So this is the thing that I think is really interesting. So this is a chart showing the quarterly energy revenue here in orange, and then this quarterly reported, and this is just a footnote disclosure. This isn't even a balance sheet line item. The unsatisfied performance obligation, and which will become revenue unless they have to like pay all this out in liquidated damages. So you can see here, Tesla's energy revenue has been like relatively flat until this big quarter that we saw, where it jumped. But importantly, it did not jump the 136% that you would think that it would jump, just based on how much deployments have increased. The reason for the kind of disconnect between revenue growth and deployment growth is because so much of the ASP of these megapacks is going towards other milestones and to this unsatisfied performance obligation. So where we are right now, we had quarterly revenue of about $3 billion in Q2, and this future revenue potential from this unsatisfied performance obligation is nearly $6 billion. So this went from nothing in Q1 2023 essentially to like this massive tidal wave of future revenue. And then you can split this out here between the current portion, which is in orange here. That's the amount that's going to be recognized over the next 12 months, according to Tesla's estimates. So essentially, in addition to the 3 billion or so of quarterly revenue that they just posted, they've got another, I think it's like 2.57 billion. What's the number here? Yeah, 2.56 billion of unsatisfied performance obligations that they're also going to be recognizing over the next 12 months or so. So when you start doing the math of kind of like adding like the revenue growth that comes from the growth in deployments from Lathrop getting up to scale, and then adding in Giga Shanghai, with the kind of revenue that's going to come from the historic deployments on that relates to these unsatisfied performance obligations, and then layering in the fact that this is very high margin revenue, you get to like earnings and gross margin contributions that are, I think, a lot more significant than Wall Street is expecting. My base case assumption, which I think is on the conservative side, or at least I'll just say my reasonable estimate for Tesla Energy earnings per share impact, so tax affected everything, is $1.10 per share in 2025. So this is very meaningful amount of incremental revenue. I mean, if the energy growth, or if the Robotaxi thing doesn't take off next year for whatever reason, I think this alone returns the company to significant EPS growth, and it's something that I think is just completely misunderstood by the street.
And in all that, you consider that Shanghai Megapack company, Megapack factory is online at the end of Q1 2025, or?
Yeah, so online, but we're assuming a pretty reasonable like ramp up in. Just flip the other way here. In when like the factory will actually ramp, and then beyond that, when the deployments will ramp. And then this UPO piece is going to ramp even slower than that. So we're taking all that into account and trying to make reasonable estimates of the ramp. I think what we've seen with energy is like it's been so slow to ramp that like it's very easy to forget about it. But I think we're finally at this inflection
but
point.
what my question is, given this now proven concept, why don't they open many more megapack factories
megapacks.
now
It's
around the
gonna be
world?
announced.
I mean, at one moment, a year and a half ago, we saw Elon traveling around the world, and we thought maybe there was one in France and maybe one in Italy, and I don't know where else, because the need obviously is there. They've said it in
India.
this earnings call again. They've got 2 to 3 years of orders just lined up. But why do you all feel that they're not doing?
You spent the money on
more?
AI compute, data warehouses. Then they'll add megapacks after you build the compute.
Yeah, but the ramp is slow, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I wish I had more insight. Like, I wish there was more discussion about this. I wish there was more kind of disclosure around why they aren't ramping up faster. Because even Lathrop has been really slow to ramp. And given how significant this backlog is, it just seems crazy to me that they didn't at least try to open a second Lathrop while they are ramping this one.
Because at least, I mean, at one point, batteries were expensive and rare. I get that, but at the moment, batteries we have, right? So
yeah. So the other theory I have, which I'm not sure how much I believe in it, but I'll lay it out, is Elon at the Giga Nevada expansion ceremony, what was that, like a year ago or so, talking about adding an extra 100 gigawatt hours of capacity to Giga Nevada. It was all going to be 4680 cells, and he mentioned that a portion of the factory's output was going to go to megapacks. So this would be the first time they'd actually be using the 4680 form factor in megapacks. So my theory is maybe they wanted to figure out ramping 4680 and then kind of get to a standardized megapack that uses 4680 to ramp that. I don't think it would be the exact same chemistry as like what goes into the car, but the form factor, it does make sense that you'd want to use that form factor if you can get the price down low enough.
I was
that's one
thinking
potential reason why we might have seen a delay.
Dry battery electrode, maybe they were because on this call. Go ahead.
Well, that's like one of the huge bottlenecks that has led 4680 to be so delayed, and it sounds like they are just now getting to a huge breakthrough there, which is getting them excited. So
perhaps that's the answer to the question of why they haven't ramped factories, because they were waiting to nail that down.
Yeah, that could be it. But I still think that's kind of silly because they're using these other cells from CATL right now. Like, you could at least get another 20, 40 gigawatt hours of capacity with the existing technology, and then over time ramp up with 4680s if that's the long-term goal. So to me, it doesn't seem like a very satisfying answer. And I'd love to talk to somebody at Tesla Energy who knew why this ramp has been so timid.
Yeah, timid is the right word.
No, please don't say the word timid right after you've been saying unsatisfied performance obligations like 20 times. So, okay. First of all, this show, I think that my performance obligations was dead on. Look at this information that everybody here shared. Jeff Lutz, incredible performance obligations. Xander Sky, Alexandra Mertz, Matt Smith.
Okay. Should we talk about where we're going to be on Saturday?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's do that. So today's Thursday. We're going to be tomorrow's Friday morning when we publish this show, and we're going to be on the plane. At least I will be. I'll meet Alexander Mertz, Tesla Boomer Papa. We'll meet Xander Sky. Jeff hopefully will be there as well. This is going to be the X takeover in San Luis Obispo. San Luis Obispo, California, X takeover. There's going to be a big event, so we'll be there. So if you are there, come say hi. We're going to do a panel. Cyber Bulls show on Saturday at, I think it's at 11 a.m. in the morning. Yeah.
Were you interviewing? Are you interviewing some people there?
Gali will be there. And then right after that, there's a tent and some sort of tent that we're going to be available to.
There's an influencer tent next to the stage where we will be. People can come and hug and take selfies and talk to Herbert if they want to. I don't see you, but
autograph body parts.
Oh, you're gonna go there. You're gonna go there.
This is going nowhere.
You're gonna go there, Jeff.
Herbert said he was doing that. I didn't say that.
Okay. Thank you guys, and thank you, Matt. Appreciate you, and thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Herbert.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks for moderating.
Thank you, Xander.
That was fun.
That was fun.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.